I don't know why I like movies so much. I don't know why I gravitated to that as my dream or that as my career choice. I don't know why, of all the things I could have chosen, I've chosen one of the most lucrative things I could have possibly picked. My father was into movies, he went to film school and all that, so I think in a way that kind of rubbed off on me from like a young age. It rubbed off on me. And now, whether willingly or unwillingly, I have become the same. And that's what I live like now. I don't know, I've always just been like around movies, like watching Disney movies growing up, Winnie the Pooh, Little Mermaid, all that stuff. And then I never really stepped out of that animated Disney kid realm until I saw Star Wars. I remember vividly, I think it was one of my earliest memories, if not my absolute earliest memory. My father in the 80s or 90s or whatever, he had bought a VHS tape of a little documentary. It was called From Star Wars to Jedi. And basically it was just like behind the scenes footage of ILM doing the special effects for the original Star Wars trilogy. And I saw that, and just watching like the creature effects and stuff and all that was mesmerizing, but then intercut in between all these segments of them making the original trilogy was clips from the original trilogy. And I remember vividly seeing the opening of the original movie in this documentary where Vader walks on to Tantive 4 or the Blockade Runner or whatever, and he does his little look thing and then walks off. I remember vividly seeing that. I remember seeing the cave fight from Empire Strikes Back when Luke goes in the cave on Dagobah and he fights the vision of Vader. Like I that's the kind of thing that's like, it was permanently engraved into my mind from that moment on. Like that was magic. That's what movies were to me. And no matter what I see or what I do now, I see those images as what movies are. In the realms of TV, Star Trek was always there too. My family, both sides of my family, grew up watching Star Trek. My father grew up watching reruns of it in the 70s. He saw all the movies when they came out. My mother grew up watching it because my grandfather and my grandmother, they watched it originally in the 60s. So like, both sides of my family were completely aware of what Star Trek was. They were fans, they loved it, it was great. And again, that came off onto me. Somewhere I have home video footage of me with my grandfather at his house watching Star Trek The Next Generation on TV. And him asking me, I'm like 2, him asking me why I like it so much. And I can't give like a straight answer because I'm 2 right now, okay. And my cousins were there at the time, and I have this video of them telling me, or telling my grandfather rather, I think he likes like the music, or I think he likes spaceships and stuff, and then like all the while I'm just like fixated, like tunnel vision, deer in the headlights at Star Trek. I don't know what it was. But now I see that it's because of the writing, it's because of the characters in both Star Wars and Star Trek. It's such like a magical thing seeing these tales of these characters that I love so much. Like, to me, Star Wars and Star Trek are like the magical franchises to me, because those were like, those 2 franchises together, they made up my childhood, whether I like it or not. Like, it's because of those that I wanted to go into movies in the first place, I think. I have a vivid memory of me being with my father in a clothing store, maybe 2004, 2005, just sitting there with him, and I started telling him about my idea for a Star Wars movie. And he began to explain to me the filmmaking process. I was like 5 or whatever. And from that moment I knew what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. The thing is, now that I'm older, and that aspiration of going to film school, of learning about these things, it's so close, and I've started to realize that there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to make a real Star Wars movie or a real Star Trek movie. So I have this really weird feeling that, like, this is in a weird way my only chance at doing something even remotely like that. I don't know where the idea for the Nerds of the Many came from. I think it has something to do with me realizing, in maybe my first or second year of high school, I'm in my third year now, realizing that the fan bases of every single nerdy thing are so, like, toxic and terrible, it's not even funny. Like, if you have, like, the main Star Wars fan base, for example, and in that fan base are all these little sects of people that hate each other. And then outside of that, there's the Star Trek people, for example, who hate the Star Wars people, and the Star Wars people that hate the Star Trek people. And I always thought that was a really interesting idea. I'm a total nerd, I'm a sci-fi nerd, right? So I go to all these, like, conventions with, like, my lightsaber or whatever I have on me with my phaser, and I'm going around and you just see all these people dressed up, and they're all in groups. No, you never see a Star Wars fan interact with a Star Trek fan when you're at a convention. I always thought that was really, really, like, fascinating, like, really, like, National Geographic nature-like the two people alone. At one point, I had a list of every script I wanted to write, and on that list, I believe near the bottom, was a two-man stage performance. And what the idea was, is it was going to be a Star Wars fan and a Star Trek fan coming home from a convention, and them confronting each other at the bus stop while they're waiting for a bus. Like, that was my initial idea. It was going to be a two-man stage show. Theatrical performance. At 2 in the morning, sometime in January of 2017, a good friend of mine and I were writing text messages back to each other, but they were like paragraphs. We were just talking about concepts for movies that we had. And at some point in the conversation, I don't know what it was, I think it's because he was sending so many great ideas to me, and I couldn't think of an idea. Something unlocked in my brain, and I thought about that idea I had for the stage play. I really thought in that moment, like, I could do this. I could make this as a movie. Like, in the end, I don't know how it'll turn out. But I know deep down in my heart, it's made from love. It's made from the love of these two franchises, and I think I can write a funny story to tell that no one may like, but hopefully someone out there will be interested in. And I mean, I guess in the end we'll see how it goes.